Hey chooms, Joe from RPG here, and today I have another NPC video for you. This one is gonna be special for me. This one is a character I have played as a player that has evolved into a part of my game world as a GM later on. He is a Rockerboy, one of my favorite roles. I have recently released a 50+ minutes video on the Rockerboy, so go check it out if you haven't already. He also appeared in a previous entry for this CYBERPUNK Red NPC Codex. Remember when I mentioned that Edna, the paramedic, was a huge fan of the Oni? Well, that's the band of the NPC I am introducing you today. But that's enough keeping you in suspense. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to Skylar Darksun. Today, Skylar is the lead guitarist for The Oni, an up-and-coming band in the Night City's rock scene. The Oni have an overtly political message in their lyrics, and they always play wearing Japanese Oni masks on the stage. If you want to imagine how they sound, I'd point you to the Beast in Black, a power metal band. The Oni is the result of Skylar's ideas and efforts. He put together this band by gathering other Rockerboys he met during his days as an edge runner, with only one very specific criterion. Every group member has to hate the corporation and the unjust system they foster. The Oni roster frequently changes. Their concerts are underground events whose location is revealed only a few hours before the show, and no member of the band is widely known to be part of the crew. They are a covert band because they want not to suffer from Megacorp's censorship or reprisal. Their messages are usually riot-inspiring and sometimes even violent. But before all of this, Skylar Darksun was many things. In his first memories, he trains inside a lab, carefully watched by scientists as he spars, katana in hand, against other kids in tight, high-tech suits. Most of those memories have been wiped out from his mind when he left, but his muscle memory retains the benefits of that period spent as one of the many experiments in the Ghost Project, a shadow research by the Kondachi to create the perfect katana-wielding warrior as a paragon for the use of their products. Skylar doesn't recall anything about that. He just learned that men in suits or lab coats are associated with evil intents and exploitation. You may say that he never parted with the concept, for today his hatred of the corporations is even fiercer. The only thing Skylar knows for sure is that he was freed at a certain point, when he was 13 or so. That's where his memories became clear, and he actually remembers his life. He spent some time with the Aldecaldos in the Badlands. Due to his temperamental attitude, it got into several fights, but thanks to his charm and charisma, he also made some good friends among the nomads. He also learned how to survive in harsh conditions, inherited a very specific concept of honor and family, and above all, he fell in love with motorbikes, a love he still retains to this day. Alt, his treasured bike, is the one he used when he roamed the Badlands with the Aldecaldos. When he got 18, Skylar felt like he needed more to satiate the anger inside of him. He wanted glory, he wanted to meet new people every day, and the Badlands started to feel like too tight for him. He left the family and moved to Night City with the youthful certainty that he would quickly make a name for himself. After all, his combat skills made him one of the best among his peers in the Aldecaldos, so it was time for Night City to give him the right credit to that. Except Night City never did. Skylar had to work exhausting jobs just to pay his rent. He lived on the street when he could not make ends meet. That's where he met Lucien, the guy who introduced him to the Rockerboy music and the edge runner career. Skylar was very good at the latter and barely decent at the former, but his preferences were exactly on the opposite side of the spectrum. He became obsessed with the idea of being a rocker, and when he found out about Johnny Silverhand, James Rockerboy Manson, and all the legendary rocker boys of yore, he knew his path in life was set. He exercises every day, tirelessly, to become a better guitar player. He never managed to become a virtuoso or anything, but he got decent after years of practice. As an edge runner, however, he was fantastic. The training he had received made him a lethal weapon for any edge runner group. His exploits as an edge runner became widely known and he started to hang at the Forlorn Hope, although he never fully accepted the idea of being a fighter or a solo. Actually, a buried part of his unconscious self hates being so good at combat, because he knows the reason why he is. And the association with the past he is desperately trying to leave behind is still very strong. Skylar doesn't really like being an edge runner, but that's what he is good at. He pays for his unproductive art with a contract as a merc. Over the years, he has created many bands, all of which failed sooner or later. The one he's most known for is the Black Stars, a group of fans of the King in Yellow horror stories with hidden esoteric messages into their lyrics. Skylar loved that group and is still friends with many of its members, but he left the band due to the many altercations he had with the crew. Skylar thought the group was going nowhere and needed a more overt political band, while the others were against that. Skylar thought himself to be entitled to do what he wanted since he was the founder, so he split the band, only to see it form again without him a few days later. Skylar has been jailed a few times for minor crimes against the NCPD and some corporation, but has a sort of a mixed reputation. He is known as a try-hard guitarist and singer who is desperate for success, but is not as good as a musician as he is a performer. His personality is his strongest feature and his greater weakness. Many hate him, and some love him. The only circle in which he is unanimously admired is the only one he hates even to be a part of, the Edge Runners. Now, with the Oni project taking off, Skylar is hoping that things are finally starting to go his way. Maybe sooner than later he will hang up his katana and only hold a guitar in his bloody hands. Skylar has a controversial personality. You know the saying, you either love him or you hate him? Well, Skylar is exactly like that. He is passionate, idealistic, fervent to the point of zealotry in his hate for the corporations. He's an artist, a rebel, a rocker, a biker and a dreamer. But he also hates himself, especially his physical prowess, which reminds him of his past. Skylar can also be arrogant at times, a bit brusque in his manners, abrasive in his jokes and stinging in his criticisms. This doesn't win him many friends, not before people get to know him better and discover that there's honest passion beneath all the rage and spiteful words against the system and those who are part of it. Skylar has a very strong personality and a magnetic charisma. He is a born leader and always has a new project he's working on, usually not alone. He craves acceptance and admiration, but also he doesn't want the others to know and loves to play the part of someone who doesn't care about others when, in fact, he does. A lot. You could call him edgy, and you wouldn't be wrong, to an extent. Except this is all a facade, one only few can see through, however. Skylar's dream is to be accepted as an artist. Deep inside of him, he believes that art is a distinctive human trait. Playing music for him is an escape from the stinging doubt that he always carried within himself, without ever becoming aware of it. That he is some sort of an android, with no childhood memories and no true feelings. By making art his life, he reassures himself that he is, in fact, a human. That's why he doesn't really like to fight. He's very good at that, but fighting reminds him of his existential doubt about his nature. The thought that he is way too sentimental and almost dominated by his passions and feelings, not to be human, never touched his mind though. Skylar is quick to draw friends and fans, thanks to his proactivity and extroverted nature, but he is very bad at keeping them. He usually ends up arguing with his friends after a few years or months. That's why his music bands never stay together for long. When things don't go the way he wants, Skylar gets temperamental and is prone to abrupt fits of verbal rage where he insults everyone around him and blames them for everything bad ever happened to him. Only cool to go back and start acting all kind and sweet because he's too prideful to apologize directly. Deep within, however, is sweet and caring. You can see that in his relationship with Blue, a 13-year-old girl whom Skylar met when he noticed she was attending all of his concerts, despite the band changes. Blue is Skylar's enthusiastic admirer and one of his most devout fans. But Skylar took a liking to her and starting to hand her out free tickets for his show so she didn't have to steal the money. He also stepped in when Blue's father beat her and left her on the verge of death, paying for the Ripperdoc with the few money he had. The two are always in contact with each other through their agents, and Blue sometimes helps Skylar in his edge running, since she is an upstart netrunner of her own. Another important person in Skylar's life is Lucien, his once best friend, the one who introduced him to music and to the Rockerboy movement, to the samurai and to Johnny Silverhand's myth. The two were like brothers for 3 years. They lived together, worked together, even played together in their band, The Synths. But then their personality clashed. They kept arguing almost every day before that turned into physical hostility and things got violent. They decided to part ways before one could kill the other. To this day, Skylar cannot recall a single argument's object, a sign that it was more an attitude problem than anything else. They were both prima donnas that constantly stepped on each other's toes, but in the end their friendship was sincere. Every few days, Skylar writes an apology to Lucien on his agent, before regularly ending up deleting it without even sending it. Then there's Cora. She was one of Skylar's groupies and later became his lover. Cora has been Skylar's longest relationship, almost 1 year. But with her, he had the same problems he had with anyone. After a good start, they began to argue and fight over minor inconveniences. The fact is that Skylar likes people with strong personality, but he also feels threatened by them and wants to best them. Anyway, their story ended when Cora became an influencer and started talking ill about Skylar's band after a few months of on and off relationship with Skylar. Until a few months ago, Skylar's best friend were the Dark Stars members: Carcosa Jane, Power Chord Jack, Backbeat Duke, and the Tattered One, the drummer. After insulting them one time too much, and having said that they wouldn't go nowhere with this esoteric rubbish, as he called the lyrics he himself wrote, Skylar managed to turn all his friends into enemies. Only the Tattered One remained and followed him in his new project, Dione. Skylar is very good at fighting, especially in melee range. He's a proficient swordsman and even knows how to use karate. In close combat, he is a nightmare for his foes. In all physical parameters, he's a top performer. That's the reason why he got chosen as a kid to enter the Ghost program, and that's also the result of experimental drugs he was exposed to since childhood. He's got quick reflexes, a tough body, enormous strength, and uncanny dexterity. Skylar is also very strong-willed to the point of stubbornness. He believes that willing things is a human trademark, so he likes to be always proactive and hates to be forced to do things. He is also very tolerant to physical hardship and can resist both torture and drugs very well. On the other side of the spectrum though, Skylar was never particularly good at playing the guitar, nor at singing or composing. He just wishes he was. But no matter how much he strives, he'll never reach the level of the best ones around. He is bitterly aware of that, but he tries to make up for that with his charisma and empathy, making him a stage animal more than a virtuoso. Skylar's bike, Oath, has been stolen from him. He was playing with Dione last night, and when he finally got out of the underground parking lot where the band was performing, he was jumped, and some goons took the keys from him and rode away with his bike. It was in that moment that he knew exactly how Johnny Silverhand felt when, after a samurai concert, Alt Cunningham was kidnapped by Arasaka and Johnny beat to near death. Except Skylar's version of Lyle Thompson coming to the rescue is one of the PCs, possibly one who would like power metal or could be reasonably attending an underground concert. If none is present, then just have the party wander the secluded alley by accident when they found this showy punk with half white, half black hair in a pool of blood, badly beaten and on the brink of death as he writhes in pain on the ground. Skylar asks for help loudly, and if the PCs don't assist him, some fans arrive and do that, letting the PC know that the guy has a measure of importance. Regardless of how the PCs get this mission, the contract is simple. Skylar wants the characters to find his bike, Alt, before it gets dismantled and sold piece by piece in the next night market. The motorbike is an RV100 that goes back to these days as a Nomad. It's heavily modified and has two distinctive airbrush images painted on the tank. One is of a man with no face wearing a yellow robe with tentacles protruding from the oversized sleeves, and the other is the mask of a Japanese demon known as Oni. Skylar is willing to pay with exposure and ads, whoever decides to help him. He even promises free tickets for his next concert. Skylar is too badly beaten to take part in this job personally, but he can help the characters in any other way. For example, he could ask on his garden patch for any info or witnesses to the theft, but he won't think about it, because he's too wounded at the moment. He's willing to cooperate though, and if the PCs come up with ways Skylar could help them, then he agrees, unless the help involves too much of a physical strain. If the PCs don't come up with any ideas of their own, you can have them roll deduction to suggest some options. Skylar is a Rockerboy and has a lot of fans willing to help him. The bike was stolen by Sam Tigerclaws, who acted on a tip-off by Cora, Skylar's ex-mainline. The PCs can track them by accessing the city cameras if they have a tech or a netrunner. Otherwise, they can ask around or even just wait for some witness to give some info on where the thieves might be headed. In this case, they get to know Blue. The young girl calls them on behalf of Skylar and tells them that she hacked the thieves all the way to a garage in Japantown. It's a 10-minute drive from where the PCs are, and Blue can share the place's position with the characters via their agent. When they arrive at the garage, they find it closed. It's recognizable from the green Japanese kanji Mangetsu, full moon, painted on the portcullis. There's a camera outside, which the Tigerclaws in the workshop inside of the garage can see. The PCs can either force the portcullis or pick its lock. You can place a ventilation system on the side of the single-story building, so that with the help of a few garbage cans and some external ventilators, the PCs can climb atop the structure and enter from the window there. Or even use it to fire from above, but in that case, you should decide whether the bike gets damaged or not in the process. Anyway, inside the garage there is a number of Tigerclaws boosters equal in number to the PCs. They can be scared off with a face down. See page 194 of the rulebook for that and for how to handle this. Alternatively, the PCs can fight or try to persuade or deceive the Tigerclaws. Whatever they want to do, as long as it's plausible. The goal of this encounter is to be a cliffhanger, an action moment, but not necessarily to challenge the PCs with combat. After they have dealt with the Tigerclaws, the characters can retrieve Skylar's bike, which may or may not have been damaged in the shootout. The Tigerclaws only managed to take down a few pieces, but the bike is still functioning. If the PCs do return the bike to its owner, who is currently at the clinic of a Rippodoc named Sumimasen to get his wound treated, Skylar is relieved and profusely thanks the PCs for their help. He tries to do anything he can to help the PCs through his fans and popularity, with the only exception of an exec who clearly works for a megacorp. In that case, Skylar reluctantly thanks that PC through clenched teeth and moves on to thank wholeheartedly the others. He even goes as far as to give the PCs his personal number, explaining with a strange look in his eyes that he's a capable edge runner when needed, and that he knows how to wield a sword in combat. When they don't catch him by surprise, 5 against 1 in a back alley. Skylar will help the PCs in the future if they ask for his help, even going as far as to get in shootouts for them. He will do that only once though, unless the relationship with the characters goes beyond gratefulness and evolves into friendship. You can have the PCs meet Skylar in any moment of your campaign where they are attending a concert. In that case, Skylar's band, the Oni, is performing. You can stress the overtly political message in the lyrics or describe their fancy looks. Another great way to introduce Skylar is his personal mission. Otherwise, you can have Skylar be a rival or a colleague of a Rockerboy character or an enemy of an exec. character. Another option is to have Skylar be hired together with the NPCs for a job by a fixer. In that case, make sure to display his strong personality as well as his arrogant prima donna behavior. Beware not to exaggerate that trait though, otherwise your players will hate him. Maybe evolve this into a character arc where Skylar gets more friendly with time. Hint that although he's a bit edgy, he has some weak spots and always helps back whoever helped him first. Lastly, you can tie Skylar to one of your character's backgrounds. He may be a friend or a foe, and even a tragic love affair. This will make his personal mention feel even more personal. So, Choom, I hope you enjoyed this video. Fun fact, Skylar is the Rockerboy character that I play in one of my CYBERPUNK Red campaign. In my world, he has far evolved from this initial behavior and characterization, becoming way more friendly and kind. But his hatred for the corpse remained. As usual, a huge thanks to Melina for illustrating Skylar. Go give her your support on her Instagram page, which I'll link down below. Let me know in the comments if you used Skylar and how your party dealt with this mission. I'll see you, Choomba, in the next video.